Hello and welcome to Geekable Trades Pod.
Your podcast for all things geeky. I'm Greg Barlow.
And I'm Dirk Pretorius.
And today you're joining us for MMORE games.
Indeed. I wonder what that could be about.
Indeed. Some sort of massively multiplayer, possibly online type.
Possibly
section.
only. Yeah. And possibly there might be some role-playing in there.
Indeed. So join us in a little bit for our main section where we'll be talking about mostly, I think, the two big hitters on the block.
Yeah, I mean, like none of the new stuff's out just yet, and I don't know how popular it's actually going to be considering their monetary marketing. But we'll see.
So yeah, we'll get there soon. But first, what you drinking tonight, Doe?
Tonight, because it is cold in Gauteng, it is hot chocolate of the Nomu variety. So
Okay.
it's low fat and all sorts, but so delicious. Yourself, Greg?
Myself, I've made an alchemical concoction.
Ooh, alchemical.
Because I'm using rose and elderflower cordial mixed with Copperhead Alchemist's gin,
Ooh.
Some fresh lemon, and tonic water.
Well, it's got ruined by that last part, Greg.
What's wrong with fresh lemon?
Tonic water, Greg.
So, cheers.
Cheers.
That's my magic potion to warm me up.
That's fair enough. That is fair enough. Shall we get back to our latest and greatest adventures on our way of the wild news headline?
Indeed. So, wild news headlines. When last we left off, you were in the city of
Basmati, and I had just been at the not fighting gym.
Yes.
Not psychic gym.
Yeah, the totally fighting gym all along.
Yes.
So, having acquired your totally a fighting badge all along, not psychic badge.
Not psychic badge,
yeah. You decide to continue down the road to the next city, which is, of course, Vermilion City originally, but it needs to be renamed something reddish. Vermilion's red, right?
I think so. You'd think I'd know. You'd think I'd know.
So what's a synonym for Vermilion? Well, let's just call it Red City, because I mean,
orange,
look
red.
at the color backgrounds. We're red.
Yeah.
It's just Red City.
Red City.
So
that could be dodgy, Greg.
Okay.
What do they have for a red light district in Red City?
They don't have one. They've just got a light district.
Good point.
So, heading down to Red City, you're on the road on your Segway, missioning along, and I don't know if you remember in the original game, but in the original game there was a man with a machop on the road, and he was like flattening ground with the machop. A building foundation. So what's an appropriate substitute for a machop in this universe to flatten and make a building foundation?
It's news headlining universe.
I mean, I suppose we could just use the news headline, which happens to be like, so the construction sign above says, Thor, Love and Thunder is the craziest thing I've ever done. Taika Waititi.
Okay. That should be interesting. I think I am quite looking forward to the film. Like, was like the latest Guardians movie is supposed to come out before Thor, or is it like
no? It's definitely after this. This is definitely continuing on because it has the Guardians actors in it.
Okay.
So it's that sort of sequel point where Thor joins them. Or at least some of them. I don't know if they're all in it, but I know at least Star-Lord's there.
At least two of them are not.
Yeah. True. And yeah, so he's on the record of saying this is the he says, if you wrote down all the elements of this film, it shouldn't make sense. It's almost like it shouldn't be made.
Well, I mean, that's a lot from like Taika, because like I mean, like What We Do in the Shadows, and like a few other things. That bodes to be quite wacky and such. I haven't been like watching any of the Loki series, but they've seemed like be also quite like out there with some of the stuff, like from what's been spoiled. But
Yeah.
I don't know. I think it'll be interesting. Like just yeah, Hemsworth needs to do more legs day. That's all I will say around that one.
Well, he also said, so he continued on, this is the same interview. He goes,
Mhm.
it's very different from the previous movie. It's crazier. I'll tell you what's different. There'll be far more emotion in this film, and that's a lot more love and a lot more thunder.
Okay, and less
And a lot more
gold.
Thor, if you've seen the photos. So it
Yeah,
kind of
yeah, yeah. But and
ties into it.
less Goldblum though. So
Mhm.
how is it going to be like more crazy without that? I'm
Yeah,
wondering where they're going to go with it, sort of thing. Because I mean, like
I have no clue.
I mean, obviously they're going to be changing over. There's like the rumors that they're going to switch over to having no longer Thor being Thor Odinson, but
Mm.
being other Thors, sort of like thing there. There's all
Yeah,
stuff with like Valkyries in it as well.
yeah.
So
What's her name's coming back? That the one that becomes female Thor in the
Jane
comics.
Foster, yeah, yeah,
Yes, yeah, that's
yeah.
it.
So
So
Natalie
her
Portman, yeah,
actress is in the movie, yeah.
yeah.
So sort of lends itself towards that.
It does.
Yeah.
I wonder if they'll do like similar sort of like things around it though. Is my only like sort of thing because like the comics were. I mean, that whole set was really weird because that was like that's oft after like the second Secret Wars and sort of stuff.
Mhm.
So and we don't really have a Doctor Doom to kind of make the battle world and all of that kind of stuff to kind of
Exactly.
force it in. But
But we'll have to see where it goes.
yeah, yeah. I'm looking forward to it. Like Thor, like especially
Yeah.
after Ragnarok was like a very
Mhm.
much a like a oh yeah, yeah, this is pretty good. It's pretty good.
Yeah. They certainly redeemed themselves with the third Thor movie
Yeah, yeah. I mean,
from
the
the
first
second one.
I liked the first one. The second one
The
was
second one's like,
yeah, it's like the weakest. It's still a Marvel movie, so it's still
yeah,
like got
yeah,
like a
but it's
certain
one of the weakest.
level, but it's
Mm.
one of the weaker ones of it.
Mhm. I'll
So
agree.
yeah,
Um, so they definitely seem to be leaning hard into the Guardians of the Galaxy formula. So,
yeah, which could be interesting. I
so we
think
might get intergalactic space police Thor.
yeah,
Maybe.
but
Something.
that again is like that is like sort of put together in like Battle World one. So I don't know.
Exactly. So they might
Yeah,
lean into that.
they might, they might.
We'll have to wait and see.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. So I guess what's he using to flatten the Earth in? Like Thor's hammer or
No,
something?
yeah.
Yeah. He's clearly like a chosen one. He just doesn't know
He just lets go and he's like, oh, wow, this is really light. Why is this stamping down so well?
it. And he's like, come back next year and the building will be ready. Which fun bit of Pokemon lore that I learned whilst reminding myself about this zone. It never gets built.
Yeah.
The foundation
Even
gets laid and then like it closes because they don't have enough money to build the building.
okay, so in gold and silver, when you come back, is it like just not there?
Yeah, it's like a cordoned off area, and then there's like a guy who mentions and says, "I ran out of money before I could build the building."
That's great.
So it's a nice little nod to the previous games, I think.
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, okay. So you zoom on past. There isn't really much to do. It's more of a like a notice rather than an obstacle because it's something that's coming in the future. You know, it's not something you have to deal with right now. You can only speculate as to what's going to be built there eventually. And you find yourself in Red City. Red City.
Yeah.
Where everything is a lovely shade of red. More like your red. Your red. Got a point towards you.
Other way, Greg, other way. There we go. Yeah, yeah,
Your red.
which is
Then
orange, which is
my
orange
more
red.
orangey.
I'll have you Google will let you know.
Yeah, okay, fair enough. Then what's mine? Yellow, red,
I
yellow,
don't know.
orange.
That's what Google Home has set the bulb to. Orange red. So
I just use one of these things and set it to red. So, anyways, so if you'll remember, Red City is known for its large harbor.
Yeah.
And there, majestically docked in the harbor, is none other than the SS Bodie McBoatface.
Ooh.
We can't have the SS Anne.
Well, Boat faced is the submarine, though, Greg.
It's not even the submarine, it's the dinghy thing.
No, it was the submarine was the Boaty McBoatface, and then the
Mm.
actual thing was named after what's his name,
Yeah,
the
David Attenborough. Yeah.
Edinburgh, yeah, yeah.
So okay, it's Facey Spaceboat. Its much larger cousin
Mm-hmm.
and research vessel. However, there seems to be quite a lot of like policing presence on this thing as you go on board, because you're sent on board before you can go to the gym because the captain's got something important for you.
Mm.
And the next headline is that Tencent is implementing new facial scans in all of their apps to catch Chinese kids playing past curfew.
Yeah, which is like a weird one within there. I was watching one of the YouTubers I like watching who it started with like the Warcraft sort of stuff, which is Baby Lar, and he does like things. They did a pretty like a good full length like half hour sort of like talk about it yesterday on their
Oh,
news channel, and yeah, it's scary stuff honestly within there because it's like Tencent obviously they've got a lot of their stuff. It's a Chinese company originally sort of thing within there. They're global. They own Riot, so there's big things there, and just trying to keep that player base and everything there, and the money, and keeping on the good side of the CCCP sort of like thing of that. So it's an interesting one. We think about facial recognition. Our like sort of thoughts of it are like the iPhones or etc. We're like, well, yeah, that makes sense. You can unlock it and all of that
yeah,
there, but
security.
it's all self-contained on the phone. There's no going out to some
Database.
database to check it or whatever. This thing, like, it needs to facially recognize you and then go like, it's not like, oh, I know it's this person who's playing. It's I know that you are a student at this high school and you are under the age of 18, which means your curfew for gaming is 10 o'clock.
Exactly.
So, and not before 4 a.m., I think, or something, or 6 a.m.
Yeah, so the current law is minors are not allowed to play video games between 10 p.m. and 8 a.m. and are not allowed to play for more than 90 minutes on a weekday.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's been in effect since.
And
it's regulated since June 1st, 2021. Hence the new.
Yeah, well, the technology is sort of coming in there because the regulations just aren't working. I find it interesting because like India do very similar things as well, where they've also got like curfews for certain mobile games and such. Because it's also, I think it's like PUBG. PUBG is like banned, which is hilarious to me within that. But I mean, it's interesting to see that there's those sort of things. But again, it feels very, I don't know, very close to a bad episode of Black Mirror. We're one step off of it,
Well, the first thing that came to mind to me was Minority Report, when you get the targeted adverts based on your face.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like we're there. I don't know if you've also seen like the Hong Kong. Is it Hong Kong? No, it's Beijing police. Like their glasses that they wear have cameras that have facial recognition, and it's like not obviously processed there. It's processed at like their communication center somewhere in the middle of the city. And that has it immediately. You can walk by and be like, oh, that person's this criminal, that person has this sort of like thing. The hilarious story of that is the politician that got like a bajillion fines against her name for jaywalking because her face was on the side of a bus, and it kept getting picked up by this facial recognition sort of stuff. So there's all sorts of little things like that you can kind of find with there, but yeah, in the wrong hands, like that can be quite scary. And like, how long before a conservative party somewhere else in the world is like, yeah, that makes sense. We'll use that to prevent whatever, and it becomes more of a tracking thing. It's
and then it becomes psychopaths.
Yeah,
You can tell if they're going to commit a crime based on their facial profile.
Yeah, no, it's definitely like a scary thing. Honestly, it feels like very much encroaching. I think like if you could somehow get it as I don't disagree that like gaming addiction is a problem. It is like wholeheartedly within there, and you want to keep people kind of leveled, not being too much, but there's other ways of doing it than being quite so totalitarian about it.
Yes. Like, please input your credit card details to continue playing.
Well, not even there. It's like, yeah, I mean, you can imagine just sort of like the thing there of like people who identify differently with the gender sort of like thing and use it as an escape in an MMO or whatever. And
Mm.
also there's this facial recognition sort of like thing that some, as I say again, some conservative party might use to identify and kind of be like blah. So
Mm-hmm.
there's a lot of concerning sort of things in there.
Problems.
Technology is just yeah,
Yeah.
it's a
They
thing.
should just do it old school way. I don't know if you ever played any of the original Leisure Suit Larry games.
Oh, they had like really old trivia questions
Yeah,
attached on.
yeah. So it'd be like, what was the
That
15th American president?
but
And you had to be
that was
like,
fine in the age of no internet, Greg. Nowadays it's just like,
true,
hey
true.
Google. um,
Yeah, yeah. Well, and at least slow down your gaming a bit,
yeah. No.
Or like go like ask a question, then go to the Wikipedia article and remove the answer.
Yes.
Oh no, what do? We don't know how to find the answer to this. There's like an
Yeah.
encyclopedia on the shelf.
Yeah.
But yeah. So how are you getting past the facial recognition to get onto the boat?
Ooh, I don't know if like. Well, you must have watched like Mr. Robot and those kinds of things, but like they do like
They have the things that like
sunglasses that just
jam.
like jam it, so like thing. It's so
So
cool, and like you can do it like with a home kit. It's great.
I actually remember during those protests in I think it was in Beijing where they
Well,
were
it was
distributing
in Hong Kong, so like
in
they
Hong
were
Kong,
doing that. Yeah,
yeah,
they fired lasers out into it to disrupt
and
all
it
of the
just
facial
jammed
recognition.
and pixelated
Mm.
people's faces.
Yeah, but it's cool. Like that whole scene from Mr. Robot where they like DIY a quick like sort of like thing that blocks out the thing, completely doable. You and like almost verbatim what they did on the show. So yeah,
You heard it here first, kids. If your mobile phone game's not letting you play after 10 p.m.,
yeah.
just go and watch Mr. Robot instead.
Mm-hmm. Because that's totally allowed to be watched
Yeah,
in.
yeah. I'm sure that's locked and horribly regulated.
Yeah, VPNs, Kirk, VPNs.
Yeah.
We're totally not sponsored yet.
Yeah.
If you're listening, Nord or
Surfshark
Surfshark.
or whoever. But yeah, okay. So you eventually make your way up to the captain's quarters. And this is where traditionally he would give you cut, but you already got cut somewhere else. I can't remember what
Have a
you said.
flamethrower.
The flamethrower,
Yeah.
yes. So instead, he's just going to give you a facial recognition thing that connects to their
Yes.
database and totally doesn't steal everyone's personal
No,
information.
at all. No.
As long as you use it all the time.
Yeah, into the pocket dimension.
I won't equip that right now.
But now, yeah. To send it to, what is this universe's bill again?
Oh, yeah, it was. Oh, gosh, I've already forgotten.
Yeah.
It's in the previous notes.
It's out there.
Somebody put it in the comments so everyone else knows who we're talking about. So you use your flamethrower to get into the gym, which would normally be lightning themed, or maybe you have to use the facial recognition to get into the gym.
Yeah. Find
So
someone else's face to be like,
yeah,
here.
scan in, yeah.
Thank you.
You are allowed within this gym, even though it is past 8 p.m.
Yes.
So it is obviously some sort of it's not lightning. It needs to be something that only I guess cell phone gaming.
Yeah. Okay.
And you sort of get into the gym and you're expecting lightning themed trainers and gym bosses and stuff, but instead the room's just empty and you're like, what's going on? And there's like a stage in the back, and for a second there's like a psh, and some like smoke comes on the stage and fills up, and then like some like neon lights go zoo, and then in the background the Silverhawks theme tune starts playing, because your last headline for the night is that the Silverhawks revival is in the works from the Nacelle company.
All right.
And they jump onto the stage, and you must now battle all of them at once.
Oh no.
So I don't know if you ever watched Silverhawks
No.
or encountered it.
I'm just like, who are these people?
So, do yourself a favor at the end of the show, then Google Silverhawks opening, because this is the most like 80s intro to a like animated. It's the same sort of era as Masters of the Universe and all of those things, but they're set about like it's this party of like half human, half robot people called the Silverhawks that fight crime under the under the leadership of Commander Stargazer.
Okay.
So it just gets more and more like
And
80s
80s,
action.
yeah.
And and the bad guy is the evil Monstar.
Oh,
um,
that totally didn't get like ripped by like the like Looney Tunes in the 90s at all.
And of course, he's a mob boss, an alien
Of
mob
course.
boss.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was a great cartoon. I only watched some of it, like peripherally. I've never watched all of it. So
it's like most most cartoons
exactly
back
that
like when we
era.
were growing up, because I mean like they were never in order and they were never
Exactly.
all of them.
You accidentally caught one episode, and you're like, "This is amazing," and then you never see it again.
Yep. Yeah.
So yeah, that's in the works. You can expect to see it on the horizon.
Okay.
Nacelle Company is like, I think it's the original company that owns the IP, but they have a relationship with Netflix apparently. So I suspect
who doesn't these days?
To the Netflix machine.
Yeah.
Especially with things like Masters of the Universe coming. Right?
Yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, like, it's interesting to see because I mean, it's not even like Eastern sort of like shows that are being, or not only Western, it's also Eastern all stuff. Because I mean, like, all like Gundam, like they just released a Gundam movie which follows on from Char's Counterattack, and it's exclusive to Netflix.
Oh, I did not know that was.
Yeah. So like it's really weird to see these sort of like 80s sort of thing, and it's going across the board, across cultures sort of thing. They're very much going with that nostalgia vibe.
Yeah.
I think they were like, Stranger Things worked, we'll just kind of do this again, but with animations, and it'll work.
Well, I think it actually ties quite heavily into the whole age of the reboot thing, in that they're like, well, all of these reboots are working, so how about if we just did sequels to old things as well?
Yeah, exactly. It'll work, totally. But I'm interested in seeing like some of the stuff that's coming over there. And I mean, Netflix usually has they used to have like a really good batting record with that. It's not so much these days because they just like scattershot it after like a bit. But you know,
they're fairly
fairly good.
The scattershot approach isn't new. They've been doing it for a while. It's just you always remember the good shows.
No, so like they actually like they were very specific about it. There was that stage where they just like invested like billions into the thing. And they were like, if this doesn't work, we're going out of business. But it worked because they were strategic about what they did. But like immediately after that, they were like, yeah, just go. we succeeded there, so now we can use the other approach. We don't need to be as
now we have all of the subscribers.
Yeah, exactly.
So obviously the cardboard cutouts of the Silverhawks fall down, and standing behind them is a Netflix executive who's like, "Ha! I'm the real gym leader, and you must battle him." And he throws out. Yeah, so I suppose Masters of the Universe is coming out at the end of this month, right?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's our next big nostalgia bait release, I think.
True. It's true. Yeah, I know.
Can't think of any other nostalgia things that are being targeted at us.
Thundercats is coming. There's like that second new Thundercats that's sort of like on the horizon, but I don't think that's Netflix.
Yeah, I also don't think that's Netflix. Yeah. So it's probably just in the grinding work machine to make the thing.
The Dune movie.
Okay, how are you beating the Netflix executive?
By throwing the Dune movie in. We had that earlier because we had that from a couple of episodes ago. So I'll just rattle through and be like, go.
IP don't own. No. But unfortunately, you lose your Dune companion in the process because the Netflix executive snaps him up and flees into the shadows.
Oh no! We'll see a bigger series later on, I'm sure.
Leaving with you the streaming badge.
Ooh.
So congratulations, you now have the streaming badge. And I think the next step is boarding a ship to go to the next town. I can't remember.
The ship leaves. The ship leaves without you.
The ship leaves.
And then because you've beaten him, you get Flash, and then you can go through the cave to get to go back up to Cerulean and back down again to get through to the ghost town.
Right. So you don't need Flash this time because it's the phone era and everyone's got a phone, so you just need your phone back. You just walk with your phone.
Yeah, I think that was like the general thing of it. Like I've appreciated like modern Pokemon games and stuff with it. I think that was still like the weirdest one was old was it Platinum? No, it was XY, where your Pokedex gets haunted by the one that ghost electric Pokemon and becomes like a super new thing, and then like all the stuff just happens with there, and you don't really need a lot of stuff. And the latest game's also great because like HMs are not a thing anymore.
Yeah, you don't have to
It's
have one
just
dedicated poor mule Pokemon who has
yeah,
all
it's
HMs
just
left.
like you've got a Pokemon that can do this. Cool. But yeah.
Yeah. Okay, yeah, that brings us to the end of our story for today.
Indeed. Tune in next time.
Yeah, for the continuation of a Wild News headline, you'll have to tune in 2 weeks' time. But for now, I think let's move on to our main section, which is MMOre games,
Indeed.
where the two main topics of discussion are the new Shadowlands patch.
Yeah, on long last.
As
God.
well as it's up and coming. Well, I don't know if it's up and coming because it's been around for a while.
It's been around for a while, but I mean, it's like it's current usurper.
Yeah. Final Fantasy 14.
Yeah.
Who is also getting a new expansion in.
Well, it's getting a whole expansion soon, so yeah.
Yeah. Endwalker. Yeah, not just a patch. It's getting a whole expansion soon.
Yeah.
But yeah, so where do we want to start? Do we want to go with the patch?
Let's go with the new stuff. So I think, I suppose like we can.
It's kind of new.
I mean, it's new, but yeah, fine. I can talk about like World of Warcraft, so like stuff within there.
Yeah. So how's the patch been going? I haven't had a chance to play.
Pretty good. I need more friends to play with. And I want to do Tales of Vesh, damn it. It's such a good dungeon. Yes. So there's a new like mythic dungeon that's like another mega dungeon similar to what they did with Mechagong. And it's really cool because you're going to one of the collectors sort of like roaming cities. And then like the first half of the dungeon is you trying to like investigate this like one broker who's apparently collecting the super weapon. And then midway through it becomes a heist and you start jumping between different dimensions. And like there's a point where you have to fight a what's the darn thing? The bronze dragonflight become the infinite dragonflight. You fight an infinite dragonflight pirate dragon.
Yes, I saw the screenshots of that.
It's so
that
cool. So there's all sorts of things with there, and there's like all that kind of things. There's like a hard mode for it, and all kinds of really cool, interesting, and lore like things going into like the very very back lore of the universe of World of Warcraft and stuff. So lots of fun with there. The raid looks very cool as well. That I will probably just have to do with like a raid, looking for raid difficulty, which is a bit sad, but it'll go right.
We don't have a guild that's strong. Like we don't have a local guild really. And that's
but I mean, like you can find like a guild online, so like thing. I'm very tempted to try and find like another guild. The only problem is that I tank, so as a tank, there's only like 2 spots for that on any given team, and you have to be like good, but then also you're required to be at like every raid. That's the bigger thing with it, because it's like cool, you can do with it. Damage is easy enough to swap in and out, but tank and off tank kind of like a bit like, do you know the mechanics? Are we used to this? Like, are you a good match for this actually, and all that kind of stuff. So
yeah. Are you the right kind of tank?
Yeah. I mean, like Paladin tank hasn't been. It's still somewhere in the middle, still like. Very like solid, but not necessarily like best for everything like thing.
Solid and reliable.
Yeah, which they've always been. So that's why I enjoy the class. But yeah, the raid's very cool. The ending cinematics got people knitters, but that's understandable.
I mean, it's like they say though. It's not the end of the story, guys.
No, exactly. There's all this stuff, and I mean, like the big problem with it is just that, like, if you're not consuming the books, the comics, the extended lore, and stuff like that. I can completely understand why people are like, no, that wasn't great. You're like, I can understand why you get that impression sort of thing of it, because
has there been any new books recently? Because I remember
I was up to date
for
the Shadowlands
Legion.
Yeah, there's a Shadowlands Legion book.
And I haven't read that.
There's a Sylvanas book, which is coming out in like 2 months, I think.
I think
that's been pushed out, so that should be a good one, I think. But yeah, I don't know if you've seen the Garrosh cutscene from
I have not
the
seen
raid.
the full. I just know
Oh,
he's
it's so
there. I haven't seen
it's,
the content of the cutscene.
the cutscene at the end is so good.
Mm,
It's just like pure distilled Garrosh,
Garrosh.
and it's like into the character, but you're like, yep, no, he's that's Garrosh. That's the one that we all love to hate.
Yeah, yeah.
So yeah, and like everyone's like raving about that because it's done like so on point with it.
It's what
But
they wanted to see. Yeah.
yeah. Um, but yeah, and then there's like a lot of solo. There's like Corthia, which is like the new zone, and they've
Hmm.
also they've done a bit of a cheat
Oh.
because effectively the more is the new zone
Yeah,
because
yeah. It's
you
like
can
an
now
extension. Yeah.
it's an extension to it, but you can also now mount up anywhere in the mall, and they've
Mm,
gotten rid of the Eye of the Jailer, so
yeah.
you no longer have to like, oh, I'm only here for like 4 missions, and then I have to like leave before I get killed by the
Hmm.
mechanics here. It's now just okay, yeah, you can go around and explore and do all the stuff, which is quite cool. And like, there's the more invasions where like the covenants come in and attack, and each covenant has a different area that they attack, and that happens every 3.5 days. Corthia itself is quite interesting. It's got a mechagon feel to it more than anything
Okay,
else.
that's quite
So
interesting.
there's like a couple of days, and then there's more like just like treasures and stuff.
Yeah,
It's much
exploring.
smaller than any of the other zones though,
Mm.
but deliberately so. Like, I would hate it to be bigger. It would
Right.
take
Yeah.
forever to get
I
around.
mean,
So
after running around on foot on the mall for ages, you want small zones.
and I mean, it's not too bad as well. Like the dailies are fairly repetitive at the moment. Like this, I've gotten up to the honored level of them, so there's
Okay.
now like 4 daily quests a day, which isn't too bad.
That was pretty quick. When did the patch come out?
Last week,
Oh, okay.
it's pretty
You've
quick
been
to
a
get up.
dedicated daily.
I've been playing daily and sort of like thing. I've done like 2 weekly sort of thing there, and then there's like the mechagon sounding thing is that there's treasures that you can collect, and then they're very similar to Mr. Pandaria's archaeology, which is kind of interesting.
Okay.
So you get like a quest for a thing, and then you put it together, and then you bring it back to the guy, and then he rewards you, and you get reputation that way. But you also get the currency that allows you to, in your solo game, upgrade your like items and stuff. So if you're not doing raiding or you're not doing like
Okay.
Mythic Plus and stuff, that's how
Well,
you
that's
get your
nice.
gear up. It was
That's
nice. And I
nice.
mean, like they removed the cap on that as well, so that you
Hmm.
can just keep storing up
Keep,
that currency
keep
because
doing it.
people were not doing it because one of the big things for raiders is that
Yeah.
at the like level 6 of their reputation with this group is you unlock a slot, like a socket that you can put on your armor.
Oh,
So
okay.
they're like, well, we want to be able to save up for that, but we
Hmm.
can't because there's like a gate of like how much currency you can have. They got rid of that
Right.
now.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
people are saving up and just building it up quickly with that. It's gonna be interesting to see like if anyone gets that like by the time Mythic Plus era. Or the
Hmm.
mythic race to mythic on the raid, but
Okay.
that's a little while away.
Hmm.
So
Okay.
yeah,
So.
like overall, like not a bad patch. I think there's a little bit of something for everyone.
Mhm.
The guys who enjoy the instance content, there's really good. It's World of Warcraft instant content. Like it's the best in like genre and
It
has
is what
been
it says on the
for
tin. Like.
yeah. And the new zone, while being a little bit, it's a bit bland in comparison to some other things.
Hmm.
It's still fun. I'm
Hmm.
enjoying it, and like the extension of the mall itself is also kind of also decent, I think.
Hmm.
But it just took too long. Just
Yeah, I
took
was
too
about to
long.
say, was it overall worth the wait?
Yeah, definitely. Like
Okay.
I think like if they had hit the actual like intended release date for it, like
Hmm.
Shadowlands would be talking about like in the same way that Legion is. That's
Yeah.
like my
Yeah.
personal opinion of it. But because
Mhm.
it's like hit this huge gap, it's really hurt. Like really badly hurt.
Yeah.
Because I mean like flying is amazing. Like
Hmm.
the Shadowlands zones are just so beautiful.
Can you fly in the
And
mall?
no, you can't.
Not yet. Okay.
No, and then you never will.
This is
They've
not
said
intentional.
you'll never fly anymore,
Fair enough.
which is fine. They've added in like flying points and like
Yeah.
new teleporters in and all sorts of stuff. So you never, and because you can mount up now, it
It's a
doesn't
lot
feel
better.
as huge as it did before.
Hmm.
Um, and yeah, that's like fine. I mean, like the other zones, as I say, like getting flying in them is a game changer within it because you can actually like just get around to all your quests. And I went and did all the quests I missed, and I did all the I'm busy doing all the exploration things that I missed. And there's a lot of fun to be had with that, except for when like getting the one damn fox and Arden wheel breaks.
Oh
Grr.
no, like just bugged out or what?
Yeah, you have to like it doesn't emote, and then you have to emote back to it. And for whatever reason, it just bugged me the last time I did it. So I'm having to like search for it again, and like it spawns like in random places, and you have to compete with other people to do it. So
Yep, yep.
it's a thing.
But it must have a rewarding reward for you to be
The
putting something.
fox,
There we go.
it's the last treasure, and then I have all the treasures of the thing. So
Your collection must be complete.
yeah. So yeah, it's honestly within the thing of that. I think if they had hit it earlier, it would have been much better. As it is, it feels a little bit like it doesn't feel necessarily too little, too late,
Yeah,
but it does feel late.
it was good.
Yeah, yeah. And I mean, you can see it. Like there's, I don't know. There's like the guild that I'm part of is definitely like dead at the moment. Like the players are all gone, sort of thing within it.
Yeah.
And I mean, you're running around like the sort of capital city, Ouroboros, or running around zones and stuff. It feels, I don't know, it feels as populated as it did before.
As opposed to where
But
normally new patch day would be quite busy, kind of thing.
well, it is quite busy, so it's like sort of like what it was at the start of Shadowlands sort of thing, but
Okay. No, then that's quite busy
not
still.
quite as much, but like still relatively busy. It's still like, you know, with PvP mode on, you're still running into however many alliance to kill and stuff. So yeah, ain't be killed by.
Okay, so that's the most recent patch. So I have been dabbling in Final Fantasy 14.
As like
Mostly,
as like most of the WoW players have in the time.
yeah. So I actually blame Taliesin and Avatar because they did that video on just sort of discussing it.
Yeah.
And I, long ago, when it first came out, I kind of like briefly looked at it. And, like you needed to buy it and everything, and I wasn't really interested. I was sort of interested, but not interested enough, you know, like I was probably at the time or doing something else at the time. So as a game, it's sort of, I was aware of it, but I never really looked into it. And then when it came up recently, because we were waiting for this new patch, I was like, you know what? Let me give it a try. Like it's free up to level 60, so like there's no harm. And hey,
and that's something like 3 expansions worth to get to level 60 or something like that. So it's a lot of content.
A lot of expansions.
Yeah.
And so I installed it and I played a little bit, but I didn't get too much of a chance to play it because like life got busy and
that happens.
But then recently, some other friends were looking for a game to play in an evening. They were like, we just want to play a game where we can just hang out and do random things. I was like, well, actually, it wasn't even me who suggested it. It was another friend who suggested it. I was like, well, got it installed. Sure. So we hung out and leveled up some characters. And yeah, I'm quite enjoying it. Like I'm certainly I think I'll certainly get to the level cap. Consider buying it when I get there. How it's different from WoW is like a lot of people online have said it's an RPG MMO, not an MMORPG, which is very true because it focuses a lot on developing like personal storylines and storylines with the guilds you're in and all things like that. So there's a lot of story elements, and it actually gives me is that feeling of when I first started playing WoW and I could explore everywhere, you know, and everything was new and everything was shiny, and I didn't know anything, and like I mean now at the stage in WoW I've leveled like 6 different characters, up to almost max.
I know what this is.
All of those zones several times, you know, so I know them like the back of my hand. Now it's all the way back in Final Fantasy. There's all these new zones, and like they've woven the stories together quite carefully, so that it's fun to explore. And their class system is quite interesting because you pick a class at the start, and at any stage you can change your class. It just starts down to level 1 again. So like if halfway through leveling up a wizard or whatever, you're like, no, I want to be a tank. And then you go to the tank guild and be like, give me my first shield and sword. And then bam, you're a level 1 tank.
Mm-hmm.
And you can always just switch back to a wizard if you just change your weapons.
Yes.
So what it lets you do is you can like level an alt,
Yes, but by still having like your own,
still the same
like,
character. So that's helped actually, because I can now I've chose Archer at the beginning. Well, actually, I initially chose Thaumaturge, which is like a wizardy boom mage.
It's Final Fantasy. Like,
but then 2 other of the players chose Thaumaturge, so I was like, well, Thaumaturge in a party does not a party make. So I picked Archer and leveled Archer and had quite a lot of fun with that. But then the problem came around that now we wanted to start doing dungeons, and we only had DPS.
Yeah.
So one of us started doing tank, and one of us started doing healer. So I switched to a healer.
Okay.
And I could just level up my healer, and I could keep going with my Archer by myself, and like leveling it when other players aren't online. And whilst other players are online, I just switch to my healing gear, and bam, I'm a healer all of a sudden at the same level as them.
Yeah.
And keep on leveling. And yeah, I've been enjoying it. Very similar to WoW, like same vibes.
Yeah, I mean, a little bit. The control mechanics and stuff feel a bit more closer to ESO because you can play it on your PlayStation, so it kind of needs to have there. There's not as many like buttons and stuff necessarily.
Very much. But
similar
config, like
active combat and stuff.
Exactly like WoW.
Yeah, I mean, like there's like a lot of like active combat sort of like thing, like a lot of like I'm putting down a cone instead of and you click on a target and then attack it sort of like thing. So
yeah. So one of the things as well is, and this is the main difference, is there's a 1 second global cooldown on everything.
Yes, I've seen that. Everything's slower.
So you can't just go like 1-2-5, 1-2-5. Like the dance, the keyboard dance.
Yes.
Optimal rotation. You've got to actually time it a lot better.
Yeah.
Because you got that 1 second cooldown. I mean, there are some instant casts, obviously.
Interrupts and etc. But
the main rule is there's this 1 second global cooldown that you sort of develop a rhythm. It's the same sort of rhythm, but you've got to add in a delay to your your key presses.
Which is interesting. But again, I think that's to kind of get that sort of console sort of feel within it, to keep them on like par and on level with it. And I don't know, like world building and sort of like things wise, it looks very cool. I love their way of doing flying is really cool. I love that, and that it's like instantaneous. Well, semi-instantaneous, It's I finished the zone. Now I can look around, and I found the points. Now I can fly. Cool, it's a really cool idea. And WoW does that, but behind a rep grind or a time-gated thing or whatever, instead of being like cool. I mean, like some of that achievement is like go and explore, but it's not like built into it. So there's a couple of things there. I like that there's like a more player-centric story. I think that's one of the big things that WoW has kind of moved away from in the last while. Because you're always like, you're in a big raid, and then you're like, okay, but why is Jaina doing this stuff? I want to be doing this stuff. I hate her. Like, she's not even a horde.
What are they even doing, these heroes? Like,
So like there's a little bit of a distraction from there in comparison, like where FF is like cool to a character, and they're doing these big things. They're being betrayed by these people, or like being saved by allies they made 2 expansions ago, and whatever.
So what they're quite good at doing as well is building up sort of. So whilst in World of Warcraft, you like know who Jaina is, and then they've been doing it more recently in World of Warcraft, where they've been sort of putting you almost on the same level as her, kind of, But so far in Final Fantasy, because obviously by no means am I near end game content. I'm like a level 30 bard now because my Archer classed up into bard,
nice.
Which is like the natural progression, and I can see what they're doing is like as you sort of level up your classes, you get like class quests, kind of like the whole the Warlock Greenfire quest.
Yeah.
Like that, except every class gets them every 5 levels. Kind of.
Yes.
So you're always going back to your guild, and you're always being introduced to characters in the guild who are sort of leveling up with you and like growing as characters. So like and like you'll help them with character development in the process
Yeah.
as part of the quest chains, as opposed to just I've always been the best archmage in the land.
Yes.
Bow to me. It's like, no, I'm a fallible human and I have my own flaws, but let's work through them together, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Um,
I think like was it around Legion that like changed for World of Warcraft because they were just like, well,
they
now you're
realized
the head of the Paladin Order, or you're the Archmage, or you're head of the whatever the Dark Hand, Dark.
Yeah. Depending on what the class
whatever.
was, you got a cool class all and became the head.
Yeah.
Although what's weird to me is they kind of just dropped that. I mean, I could understand like, yes, they didn't, they couldn't keep the class hall and stuff in the next expansion, but the fact that they drop any reference to it or anything, like
they sometimes mention it, like certain characters will.
Like,
it's interesting.
Well, you're the head warlock, but
yeah. Well, I mean, like there were certain like things within there because I mean, like priests had like that whole thing in the previous in Battle for Azeroth where they meet Xalatath and she's like, it's you, and you're like, it's you. We could not really, but we'll do this. So there's some little things, but agreed, like that did kind of fall away, and like when the sort of Battle for Azeroth picked up again, and we're like, we're now mortal enemies again.
Yeah, which makes sense as well. Like,
they
wanted to stoke up those old flames. But it was just kind of forgotten. Kind of like, but it happens every expansion. They always forget the thing in the previous expansion.
Yeah.
So it's like, well, what is even like the relic weapons?
Like, so the relic weapons, at least they explain, because you had to use it to stop the sort of Sargeras like seeping Azeroth's power into it, all sorts of stuff. So they're getting. I don't know, like to me, like it's always interesting. Like the thing that like people mention with it is like World of Warcraft. It feels very much that the leveling and everything is the advertisement for the end game. Whereas FF, the game is the leveling. So the thing in a lot of ways. I think the end game stuff is also interesting. I don't know if the general sort of like thing that I've heard is that the FF dungeons are okay. They're not WoW dungeon quality. They're like not like awful, but you don't kind of build to deliberately go out and like gear up for them, and like it's this big event and building up to it. Like there's like, cool, you rather want to get like your house built up and get your guild's like place all built up and fancy. That's much more of a cool fancy thing that you want to focus your time into. Or your professions, which are sort of like a lot more involved, it seems, and like keep relevant.
That's actually something I want to mention is I actually really enjoyed their approach to professions in that, like, whilst in World of Warcraft you'll be like, okay, cool, I'm a artificer, and you get a menu that combines items into items, and I mean they sort of built on it in Legion and stuff where they gave you cool quests to like get unique recipes and stuff and level up your artificing. But at no stage you were always like, I'm a warlock that can do engineering. In Final Fantasy, it just treats it as a class, your profession. So to change much how I changed from my archer to a arcanist healer, right? If I equip a fishing rod, I become a fisherman.
Yes.
And my action bar becomes the fisherman action bar, and I get levels for fisherman, and each level for fisherman I get different abilities, like exactly like as if it's its own class. Which I'm greatly enjoying, because literally as we were waiting for someone else in the party to level, so we could do a dungeon.
Yes.
It was like, well, let's become fishermen, and we like joined the Fisherman's Guild, got our fishing rod, and then like slowly started unlocking all different abilities, like your tackle box ability, and then like you gain like sort of a stealth field so that you don't get attacked whilst fishing, like a stool to sit on whilst you're fishing, and like and it's as you level you gain abilities as if it's a class on its own,
I mean, you brought up Legion, like that was a big part of Legion with like a lot of their stuff, because I mean, like you had the fishing artifact, or
so they had a taste of it in Legion, but once again, for some reason they took that away. Like I really like fishing in Legion because I can build my relic fishing rod and become a cool fisherman
who becomes a fish when I dive into water.
Exactly. And you get cool abilities and stuff, and then the next expansion they're like, you know what, yeah, you're just a fisherman again. Like
you that rod, it got sucked into the sword of Sargeras as well.
Exactly. No, my relic fishing rod.
So
Yeah, and I mean the fishing guild as well. Every 5 levels, you get a story quest, that like
That's
introduces you
cool.
to the guild members and makes you start liking the guild head, even though like he's really bad at being a guild head. And you're like, he's
That makes
terrible at running the guild because he just wants to fish.
yeah. Oh, that's kind of cool.
Um,
Yeah, I don't know. Like, I think there's been a big player pushback at the moment from
mm,
following all the types of creators and such online is that they don't like how WoW is at the moment, how it's this
mm,
big, grand, extra planner, doomsday all the
mhm,
time. And people are like,
mm.
where's the player housing? Where's just like, I want to go back to Azeroth and kind of make
Yeah,
sure that
pick
everything
one.
is all right.
Yeah, yeah.
And just kind of like build up and go on adventures and
Mm.
just like day to day kind of stuff again. And like there's big craving for it, and like I don't think we're gonna get that.
I
Like
don't think so either. They can't really go back.
your pipeline is so far. I mean,
Mhm.
they could, but it's not going to happen next expansion.
I
It'll
mean, they
happen
sort of
in
tried in Battle for Azeroth, right? If you think about it, they like took it back to Horde versus Alliance,
They did, but
and
but so quickly it changed though, Greg. Like, I mean,
yeah,
like, it was like the first raid is like, there's an old god. What, you're like, what?
yeah,
Oh,
exactly. Like, well, I
okay.
guess we're back to
It's,
saying old gods
it's not
again.
really an old god, it's a fake old god that the Titans genetically modified and created. Okay. And then, like,
Yeah,
the next one was like, okay, Battle for the Zalor. Great. Like,
hmm
one of the best raids they've released, sort of like thing. And then
hmm
immediately after, it was like, hey, it's in Zoth. What?
yeah,
Yeah. Hey, old god guy,
yeah,
I'm back again.
old gods again.
I'm gonna take over the world. Cool. And I mean, like, there's some intrigue and stuff with like Sylvanas and all that kind of stuff, but
Hmm.
it just didn't feel like personal. Like again, Legion. I think our golden images of
Investiture.
Legion
Yeah.
are just investiture into like, okay, my character is central to the story here, and
hmm
there's a story for every character, and yeah, there's all sorts of nonsense going on. There's like freaking planets in the sky all of a sudden, and all kinds of things like there, but it felt very unique to you and very
Yeah,
like yes, I am the grand paladin of this thing, and I
exactly.
have done all this cool stuff, and I will call in favors with the Death Knights because they tried to take my like Tyrion Fordring's body and try and make him into a Death Knight and all those kinds of things. So
Yeah.
I miss those kinds of things, and as I say,
Mhm.
like we're at the moment we're ramping up for like super light versus everyone battle in
Yeah,
space kind of
yeah,
expansion next, and that's not going to change. That can't change. They're probably like already alpha tasting internally for that, so we won't see a WoW expansion where it is just like cool. We just get player housing finally and get to
yeah,
do kind of stuff.
yeah, yeah. Do you think they'll ever go to like World of Warcraft 2 and just like sort of reset the clock?
I don't think so. Well, you know what is
Mhm.
if the only time that they would do that is once WoW Classic catches WoW Retail,
Yeah,
and when that happens, then they'll be willing to do it because then they'll be like,
fair enough.
"Oh, you can play whichever version of World of Warcraft you wanted," and now we have World of Warcraft 2 for everyone who wants the new stuff.
hmm
So, I don't know. I think what they might do is they might Cataclysm it again. So
Yeah,
like I think
it's possible.
very likely at the end of Shadowlands that's what they're gonna do. His time is all weird and wobbly in the Shadowlands, so we get back to Azeroth after defeating Zaval, and it's a new world sort of like
Mm,
thing
mm,
where what's his name? The light forged paladin guy has taken over the alliance
mm,
and is like, nope, we're fighting for the light, and the light is the only thing now, and we're going to
mm,
go to alternate to Draenor and get that army of light, and we're going to invade the rest of the world again.
mhm.
Because that's just how like it seems to be, and then like we're gonna have to like get an old god to help us to fight them or something.
Yeah, yeah. No, it'll just be like Old God Chan, who like comes.
Well, exactly. It'll be what's her name, Zeltith. It's like you're
Yeah,
like, hey guys, I told you this would happen,
yeah.
and I'm here to help. Okay, fine. It's
Um,
yeah, it's very interesting. Like, because like one of the artifacts you pick up in the new zone, it has the whispers thing again, where it like whispers you with
oh,
like
nice.
truths, and
I
you're
always
like,
like those whispers.
mm,
It's always
yeah,
touching.
yeah. So yeah, I think it's going to be interesting because the next expansion for FF is coming soon.
Mhm.
Their subscriber numbers are so big that the PlayStation Store sold out
Of digital
of
copies,
digital
yes.
copies
That's
of it.
ridiculous.
So, I think
Hmm.
Blizzard are in for a bit of a rude awakening,
Hmm.
and
I think
I
it's good for them though.
it
It's like
is. I think it's unfortunate at the
healthy
moment for them
competition.
of what COVID did to them,
Hmm.
and I think that's just an entirely like global thing. So
Hmm.
it's happened to everyone.
Yeah.
But I think it is a good wake-up call within there. I'm hoping that it's not seen from like their more like corporate side of things. That it's like, oh, well, this is a lost cause sort of like thing there. We
Yeah.
need to
Abandon
focus,
it and stop
abandon
developing
it,
World of
and
Warcraft
make
2.
World of Warcraft with battle passes, and it must be a battle royale, and try and
Yeah.
like get there. I mean, there's already like some bad monetization stuff that's sort of like creeping in all over the show. But yeah, you're just kind of like hoping that there is going to be like some sort of like some core held on to there,
Hmm.
and
Hmm.
some ideas, and kind of just seeing the passion that the FF developers have. Like the
Yeah.
fan fest this year was like, it was like watching it and kind of like watching like a BlizzCon or whatever. And I was
Hmm.
like, wow, this is completely different.
They've got an energy about them, right?
Yeah, like there's no like, what was it, red shirt guy, like, who
Yeah.
came and asked like a really like point like lore question, and like the dev just being like, bluster, bluster, bluster. It's these devs who are like, oh, that's really cool. We should totally do that. Why didn't we think about that? Get someone on that immediately, sort of thing.
In fact, we're working on it right now.
Yeah. So I think it's interesting just to see the cultures and sort of like thing like
Hmm.
kind of changing around it, and
Mhm.
I think. I don't know. There's a couple of other MMOs coming up in the near future. There's that
Hmm.
big. It's Amazon who's made it, like a New World.
Oh, the New World, yes, yeah. It's
Yeah,
in alpha
which
still, I think, but
it
open
beta
access or
soon.
open
Like,
beta.
it's coming. Well, I think it's private beta at the moment, and
Right.
yeah, but its monetization is bad,
Oh, I
really
haven't even looked
bad.
into it. I kind of know it vaguely as a thing.
Pay to
And then
win.
that's one where you build up cities,
Yeah,
nodes.
yeah,
Like nodes get leveled up depending on who's there.
yeah. So
Sounds interesting, like a concept,
it
but
is, but like they've got like
could
pay
also
for
go evil.
power, which is a bit of like a, oh no. So they really gimped themselves there. And then there's
Hmm.
another big MMO coming out as well that I can't remember. So there's a couple of ones. And oh yes, there's like one that's being made by former League of Legends and former World of Warcraft people, where
Mhm.
it looks like the Fortnite sort of graphicsy sort of thing,
Yeah.
and it's built on like the way they're pitching it is it's the MMO version of Stardew Valley.
Yes, I saw that, and I
Yeah,
was actually quite interested in it.
I've like signed up for like the beta and everything, like
Yeah.
when
Oh,
eventually
there's a
like sort of
beta.
thing. Yeah, there is. You
Gonna
should do
check it
so.
out.
Yeah, and like that one seems like really interesting because that's like quite like casual. It seems
Mhm.
like, and it's community focused entirely because it's
Exactly.
this like,
Yeah.
we will build up your farmhouse and build up
Stardew
this
Valley. Yeah.
community, and like
Hmm.
that sounds like really just nice and casual, but
Hmm.
also it's got a good art style to it. It sounds like some of like it could really draw some players away.
Mhm.
Um, but yeah, I don't know. I think the days of like World of Warcraft being the killer
Hmm.
are coming to an end. I don't think we'll ever see something that's as popular as it ever.
No,
Like
no, I don't think so.
FF is doing well, but
Hmm. Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's a heavy hitter now.
it's never going to be Wrath of the Lich King.
No,
Like I don't think we're ever going to get a Wrath of the Lich King MMO anymore.
no, because I think it's been too diversified. I think
Yeah,
everyone has their own thing now.
yeah, and I mean like we've seen other like really good MMOs come and go as well. And there's different shapes and sizes. The Old Republic is still around doing like the sort of
Mhm.
single player
Mhm.
storyline focus sort of thing.
Hmm.
I'm really sad that Wild Star died when it did. Like
Yeah.
it was a lot of fun, but it got too its raiding scene got too hardcore.
Mm,
I think that, and then NC Soft also just didn't support it.
mm.
Guild Wars is still a thing.
Mm.
it's still out there plugging away.
That reminds me, the other day I noticed, do you remember the Warhammer Online
Yeah,
MMO? They,
it's like a renewal, like
yeah,
sort of
yeah.
like
So
thing.
it's not the actual original owners or people. It's
Yes,
like a fan-run server,
yeah,
but
and
you can
it's
go and
just like
play it
popped up.
again, which is amazing because I love that game. Like
Yeah,
you can just wander around the Warhammer fantasy world and like suck in all the lore. Like
exactly.
it was
So yeah,
amazing.
there's a lot of things. Like how long is it until Age of Sigmar MMO comes out?
Mm, mm.
Like
I don't know. I don't know if they. Yeah, it's so weird with the
it could
licenses.
it could totally work though. Like
It could work,
you've
and
got
I
the
could
realm
see
gates, you've got all
mm,
this big stuff there. Like
like, but I mean, then on the other hand, you've got that 40K shooter game
oh,
that
that was
Blizzard.
terrible though. Like
I can't even remember its name. That was supposed to be an MMO.
uh,
It got downgraded to a shooter game, and then now it's just terrible.
I
And
mean, it was an MMO in the same way that Planetfall is.
yeah, but it was originally supposed to be a like open
Yeah,
world, and
it
then they
was.
sort of like we can't do that, and
Yeah,
then
exactly.
downgrade, downgrade,
I mean,
downgrade.
it's always the thing there, but I mean, like, I think that with the current lore of Age of Sigmar kind of
Mm,
getting to the established point at the moment, and just with the
mm,
realm gates and everything, you
yeah,
could make a pretty solid MMO in that space if you could get like the rights to that.
yeah. And
So
there's a lot of hype with the new edition as well. A lot of people are
exactly,
jumping onto the Sigma bandwagon. So
yeah. So I wouldn't be surprised if we don't see something like that kind of pop up in the nearish future.
mm, mm,
But yeah, I know. I think it's a it's a good time to like be around in the MMOs. There's like two
yeah,
big guns that sort of like are now pushing each other. Like the one
hmm
is very hard pushing the other.
yeah,
um, and there's enough to get out there. So if you've got friends and you
mm,
can sort of like get together during a week, sort of like thing, get those sort of
yeah,
things. There's enough content for you, and a
hmm
lot of good content out there as well. So
yeah. Gather your party and venture forth.
exactly, find your
Mm.
meeting stone, summon everyone in.
Indeed, indeed. Or if they're shard or something. I can't remember what they called it in Final Fantasy. Something shard.
Yes, that thing.
Um, but yeah, I think we're running out of time now.
Hmm.
So we should probably wrap it up there. Tell us at home what your favorite MMO to play is. Are we missing
Indeed.
something? Should we be trying something? Let us know. Send us a link or an email or leave a comment down below.
If you know of any SA guilds that are still active on the Horde.
Yeah, yeah. Tell us your favorite guild in World of Warcraft
Mhm.
and what server they're on. It's important.
It's not as important anymore.
That's true. Or what guild you're in? Oh, sorry, what company you're in Final
Company,
Fantasy?
yes.
And if it's an SA guild, um, yeah, we'll check it out.
Indeed.
Hmm.
Well, thanks for joining, and we'll see you next time.
Yeah, thanks for listening. Cheerio.
The chat.